Hello, my name is Michael Domino. Welcome to the second edition of Lesco's quarterly video updates across the field. Since our last video, we haven't just been getting ready for 2004, we're already well on our way. We're not waiting for the perfect plan in reaching the goal of 10% earnings. There's no off-season anymore. We won't wait to do what's right for our customers, associates, and our shareholders. We're moving forward, so let's get started. There's a big topic that I want to tackle head on. It's not just a sales message or an L&O update. This is a message that needs to be heard across the field. At Lesco, we're long overdue for some cultural changes. Right now, we're at a crucial point in our growth, but we still have some old habits that have outlived their usefulness, and we need to change them. What do I mean? We used to look at things with a narrow focus, like a camera framed on just one thing. But in 2004, all that is going to change. It's no longer about what's good for the field. It's no longer about what's good for L&O, and it's no longer about what's good for corporate. It's time to concentrate on the bigger picture. It's time to work together as a team, and that's our go-forward directive. Like it or not, we're all in the same boat, the Lesco canoe, and theoretically we're supposed to be paddling towards the same common goal. But traditionally, the field, L&O, and corporate haven't always been rowing in the same direction. All that does is rip the canoe apart. Now it's time to change that. In this video, we're going to introduce a new way of doing things, partnering. So for 2004, it's no longer a field issue or a logistics issue, it's our issue. We own the problems. We'll find the solutions. Sometimes we'll need to paddle the canoe in a direction that's good for the field for a while. Sometimes we're going to have to paddle in a direction that supports L&O. And sometimes we're going to have to paddle in a direction that nobody likes. Either way, we must paddle together to reach our customer and improve our business. Each time we unveil a new approach to accomplish our goal, I'd like you to put your paddle down for just a moment and ask yourself, am I rowing in the right direction? Because if you're not, perhaps it's time to find a new boat. From now on, in the canoe, we have to start doing things together. For the coming year, Lesco will be moving to a new measuring system that will bring us one step closer to achieving 10% earnings. Starting January 1st, we'll be monitoring operating profit across the field. Jeff Rutherford, our CFO, will outline what operating profit is and the tools the selling locations will have to measure it. By using operating profit as our measuring stick, we will have to work together. Think about this video as a crash course in Finance 101. No need to find a calculator or worry about having to become a CPA overnight. That's what we have Jeff for.
Thank you, Michael. When I visit the field, I'm often asked, just what does a CFO do? Well, Chief Financial Officer isn't just an accountant. I'm the executive who is responsible for the financial planning, record keeping, and external reporting for our company. And that's a pretty serious job. Not because it's all numbers, debits, and credits. It's a serious job because I am ultimately responsible to our customers, associates, and shareholders if our numbers are anything less than 100% accurate. As a publicly held company, we've issued stock that people or institutions have purchased, certificates that represent ownership in Lesco. And it's our job to protect the value of that ownership, to make sure the numbers are right, from the top to the bottom of the balance sheet, from the front to the back of the annual report, and everything in between. I'm here for one reason. I'm the numbers guy. And it's also my job to assure that our investments make more money each year and every year. And 2004 is no different. That's what shareholders expect. An acceptable return. The most important factor is you. Lesco wouldn't be a $500 million company if it wasn't for the people who brought it here. It's easy to see that from the numbers. Most of you run your selling locations as if it's your own, like a true entrepreneur. And that's something we respect and want to reward. The question is how? How do we provide an accurate measure of the profitability of a location and balance that with the overall profit goals of the corporation? And how can we tie that in to a compensation plan that makes sense? Historically, compensation plans have always been a difficult balancing act. Starting January 1st, 2004, we will be initiating a redesigned, balanced operating plan that makes sense. One that's in the center of measuring the profitability of a selling location, and one that provides an equilibrium across compensation and performance. It's called an operating profit model. But rather than me just talking about it, let's take a look at the complete process. To generate an accurate model, we first began by establishing budgets for 2004 by looking back at 2003. We worked extremely hard to make sure that all the past data, selling locations, sales, expenses, everything was accurate. We set 2004 budgets based upon this historical data, adjusted for expected growth, inflation, etc., and input from the field. This budget data will be entered into our data warehouse to complement our historical records. We can query our warehouse's data cubes to answer a lot of questions about our business. For example, we can ask the cube how much Dimension 1906 was sold last year. It will show us. We can ask it how much Dimension was sold in the Northeast in March. It will show us. We can ask it how much Dimension was sold in the second week of March at Service Center 513 in Rockaway, New Jersey. It will show us. We can ask it which customer bought the most Dimension on one specific day nationwide. It will show us. The data cube, populated with the right, error-free information, is more than just a financial tool. It's a management tool, a power source that we can tap into. Accurate information can be produced and summarized at any level, by zone, by a zone's region, by a region service center, by GSAs within a region. We can ask it to show us all the service centers, all regions or all zones, or anything in between. It is the ultimate weapon against the competition and to defend the bottom line. About now, you're all probably thinking the same thing. Big deal, so what? Bring back Domino. Well, all this budgeting and data cube fund ties directly into the new compensation plan for 2004 that begins on January 1st. And all that CFO mumbo jumbo translates into one thing. Because we now have an accurate data cube, we can have a new measuring system. One that can be directly based upon an individual service center's operating profit. So how are we going to measure all of this? Well, we have a new measuring stick. It's called 4-Wall P&L. The new yardstick of performance in 2004 that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week through our web report system. Let's take a closer look at 4-Wall P&L. The term P&L, or profit and loss statement, really isn't a new ruler at Lesco. We've just never used it before to its maximum potential. A profit and loss statement provides information on two basic concepts, sales and how much it costs to make those sales. A 4-Wall P&L represents all the profits and all the costs associated with your location and only your location. All the financial transactions that have occurred to get and sell product within its 4 walls. With a 4-Wall P&L, it's easy to determine operating profit, our new performance measuring system. Let's jump directly into a P&L to see how this is done. Within a 4-Wall P&L, there are 3 main components that add up to operating profit: net sales, cost of goods sold, and operating expenses. Net sales are all of your sales minus any returns, minus any discounts or allowances. This all adds up to equal net sales. Cost of goods sold is the actual cost of your product, which includes raw materials cost plus manufacturing costs, which equals the total cost of goods sold. Operating expenses are costs arising in the normal course of running a business, such as payroll, benefits, rent, utilities, freight, equipment rental, office supplies, as well as other expenses. These all add up to equal operating expenses. Now that we've seen the 3 main components of a 4-Wall P&L, let's see what we can do with them. When you subtract the cost of goods sold from your net sales, you end up with gross margin. Gross margin is a subtotal, nothing more, nothing less. It can be expressed in dollars or percentages, but gross margins show us something very useful. It shows us how much money we've earned from sales after subtracting the cost of the product sold. So far, so good. But we're only halfway through. We still have to consider a few other expenses as we head towards that all-important bottom line. When we subtract operating expenses, how much it costs to operate our business on a day-to-day basis, we get 4-Wall operating profit. There are 4 things to remember about 4-Wall operating profit. First, this is not an original concept. The retail industry has been successfully using 4-Wall P&Ls for years. Second, not all service centers are created equally. For example, some have higher rent, some have greater square footage, some are further away from distribution and manufacturing points. The 4-Wall concept is designed to capture the actual profit of your location, not corporate overhead, not warehousing costs or expenses that you can't control. That's why we call it a 4-Wall P&L. It represents all the costs necessary to generate sales within your selling location. Third, there will be a charge for working capital investment in the four walls. This is a charge for the investment the company has made in the inventory in the four walls and the accounts receivable from each location's customers. The charge will be 1% a month. Once again, this charge is necessary to accurately measure each location's profitability. So what is the goal? As I stated earlier, not all locations are created equally. Each service center will have its own budget and targeted four-wall operating profit. But to get to the overall company goal of 10% earnings, we need to have the following targets. The average service center needs to attain 20% four-wall operating profit. Zone performances should then range from 15 to 20% total operating profit. Then, from a non-zone level, other expense centers will have the goal of 5 to 10% of total company sales. When we add up all the figures, what we're left with is 10% earnings. What we get is the bottom line. I know that's a lot of financial stuff to digest, but the key takeaway is that the four-wall P&L gives us the important monthly measurement to achieve maximum earnings. Remember, that's our goal. At this point, I'm sure you have lots of questions about how operating profit affects the field organization. Steve Cochran and his team are waiting in the wings to give you more information.
Thanks, Jeff. As you can see, there is a tremendous amount of work that's gone into our new measuring system, operating profit. And for the most part, we've shown you the big picture. But what about the specifics? We know you're going to have a lot of questions, and that's good, because the more questions you ask, the more you'll appreciate the battle plan. And we'd like to field some of these right now. Myself and our 5 zone leaders, John Schmidt, Phil Easton, Gary Cook, Chuck Bergamo, and Jim Taliak. In order to be a successful company, we need all associates to take ownership of their individual sales locations' profitability in order to reach the overall company's goal of 10% earnings. Benchmarked by the four-wall P&L, which will roll up to the regions and to the zone, we'll be able to better manage our day-to-day decisions. We'll be able to see the impact of what we do or what we need to do differently. Plus, the sales locations will have greater control over their personal earnings and compensation because the ball is back in their court. We'll cover all the specifics about the new compensation program during the annual sales conferences held in January.
We looked at historical expense data and used that information to generate an accurate budget for your location in 2004. We also anticipated and took into consideration inflation rate, as well as expenses related to additional sales.
Four-wall P&L will give each location the ability to see its level of profitability. This will allow you to focus on changes that may be needed for sales volume, product mix, sell price, and expense management.
We realize that many of you will have questions about your P&L. We plan on investing a significant amount of training time in our upcoming sales conferences in January so that you will have a confident working knowledge of your P&L.
Because this is a new process at Lesco, there may be some errors from time to time. We expect you to examine the data on your P&L for accuracy throughout the year. To address any potential errors, we will have a process in place that will allow us to verify the data and make adjustments if necessary.
Just like your home mortgage or car payment, certain expenses must be built into your budget. Your rent, taxes, and equipment rental are legitimate costs of doing business at your location. And that's why, even though these costs are out of your control, they will still appear on your monthly P&L.
When you consider all the costs associated with selling products at your location, freight is a realistic expense that should be tied into your four-wall P&L to accurately portray operating profit. Freight and inventory are substantial expenses in any business, and those costs will now become visible and accountable at each location. This will enable everyone to understand the true impact that freight and inventory have on the bottom line. It will also encourage locations to make the right decisions about how much product to order and how often.
Thanks, Steve. In 2003, we took a hard look at how we do things around here. And as you can see, with operating profit and the four-wall P&L, we're going to approach things a whole new way at Lesco, a better way for our customers, associates, and shareholders. But we all have to be on board. We all have to be in sync. We all have to paddle the canoe in the same direction. And that is what I mean by cultural change. In this new scheme of things, we can't just do our own thing. Not even if we have a reputation for doing it exceptionally well. We, the field, L&O, and corporate, all have to do the whole thing. We're going to take the shortest route to success, but the shortest route isn't the easiest by far. Together, we're going to take some risks. We're going to experiment, and we're going to make more mistakes, but that's how we grow as an organization. It goes without saying that 2003 was a challenging year, but we met the challenges head on. In 2004, I look forward to working with you to continue to make the changes that are needed to improve Lesco for our customers, associates, and shareholders. Happy holidays to you and your family, and we'll see you next quarter.